Hello everyone and welcome to tutorial number 46 in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. In the last tutorial, I discussed about the concept of enums in the Java programming language. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about type wrappers and also this minor concepts that is boxing and unboxing in the Java programming language. So we'll be discussing these three concepts, together. That means when I'm talking about type wrappers, I'll be talking about boxing and I'll be talking about unboxing as well. So first of all, let us start with type wrappers. All right. So, we already know that there are 8 primitive types in the Java programming language. All right. So, here I'm writing the names. First, we have char. Then, after that, we have the Boolean. All right. Then, after that, we have double. Then, we have float. Then, we have byte. Then, we have short. Okay. Then, we have int. Then, we have long. So, these are the 8 primitive types which are present in the Java programming language. Okay. So as I said in the previous tutorials when I used the PPT itself, that type wrappers are those classes which are defined in the Java programming language, which is going to store the value of these primitive types, okay, inside an object. Okay, so if I talk about this particular primitive type char, all right, then I have a type wrapper for it, and it is named as character. Okay, so character, this is a class actually. If you hover over this, then you can see that java.lang package, it is defined in the java.lang package. Okay, it is public final class character and it is going to extend object. Okay, and it is implementing certain interfaces, but we are not concerned about it. But we just need to remember that this is a class, okay, which is defined in the java.lang package. Okay, and it is extending from object. As I said earlier, all classes in Java, they are going to extend from object. All right, whether you implicitly or I can write explicitly also. But even if I don't write explicitly, they are going to derive implicitly. Okay, so right now I've written extends object here. So if I hover over this highlighted portion, here you can see it is explicitly extending java.lang.object, and it is redundant. Redundant means it is already existing. Okay, redundant means it is a kind of duplicate. So I'm going to remove that. So now I'm going to talk about this character class. So this particular class, okay, it is going to be a type wrapper for the char, okay, primitive data type. So the value which is stored inside the primitive data type, that can be stored in the object format using a type wrapper. So here I'm going to create a new reference of this particular class. Okay, then I'm going to write new character. Then after this I'm going to write, let us say, I'm going to write a. Okay, now the reason why this is highlighted is because actually this particular constructor, okay, even though it will work, the program, it is not going to give any errors, but it is definitely going to give a warning, because if I over this, you can see that this particular thing, it is deprecated. Okay, deprecated means it is even though you can use it, but it is not suggested to use it. Okay, so there is another way of doing this. I will tell you later on how we can do it. Okay, but that is the concept of auto boxing. So this is the concept of boxing. If I talk about the concept of boxing, this is the concept of boxing. I am storing the value a, okay, inside the this particular object c. Okay, the a is the value which I am storing inside this particular object c. So this is the concept of boxing. Okay, so the same thing is going to apply for all the other type wrappers as well. The concept is not going to change. And if I want to unboxing means I want to extract the character value from this particular object. Okay. So the way to do that is simply by using system.out.println c.char value. Okay, this particular method, char value. So if I click on the run button now, it is going to print capital A. All right. So that is the output which it printed. So this particular line c.char value, this is known as unboxing. Okay, So this is the concept of unboxing. Okay, so these all these three concepts, they are going to go hand in hand. The character, it is the name of a type wrapper, all right, and this is the concept of boxing. Why? Because okay, then Java, if I store the value of a primitive variable, okay, if I store the value of a primitive variable inside a type wrapper, then it is going to be called as boxing. On the other hand, if I extract the value which is stored inside the type wrapper object, okay, and if I print it out, okay, if I'm when extracting, then it is known as unboxing. Okay, so this is the concept of boxing and this is the concept of unboxing. Okay, so this was all about characters. Okay, and this is the constructor which it is going to use. Now one another thing which we can do here is, if you remember earlier, I told you that you can even pass the character primitive type, it can accept even numbers also, if you remember. Okay, if you don't remember, let me do show it very quickly. Char c equals to, I'm going to write 97. It is not going to give, it is yeah, it is giving error because c is already defined. I'm going to write it, let us say rt or something. So this char rt, it is equals to 97. 97 is the integer value. Remember, it is not a character value, but it is still not giving any errors because this thing is allowed in Java. Okay, so let us try to do the same thing here. Okay, because instead of a, I'm going to write, let us say 97, but here it is going to give an error. Okay, the reason why it is giving an error is, if I hover over this, then it will show you what the error is. So the reason why it is giving an error is because this is an integer type and it cannot be converted to a character. Okay, so you need to write char here. If you write char here, then this particular thing, it will get converted to character. Okay, and now if I press the run button, it is going to print small a. All right, after all, this 97, it is an ASCII code for small a. All right, so now that we have done the concept of characters, now I'm going to talk about the concept of boolean variables. Okay, boolean class. Okay, boolean b equals to new boolean. All right, I'm going to write true here. Now this particular class, it is going to it has two constructors. One constructor, it is going to accept a boolean value, okay, boolean data type, and another constructor, it is going to accept a string as a parameter. All right, so this is the first thing which I'm using this particular constructor in this particular line number 8. All right, then after this, what I'm going to do here is, I'm just going to I'm going to write b dot boolean value. Okay, so as I said earlier, this is the concept of boxing. Okay, this is the concept of unboxing. The concept is going to remain the same. Here I'm storing the boolean value. Okay, boolean primitive type. Okay, the value of boolean primitive type inside the object of the boolean class. So this is the boxing concept of boxing, and this is the concept of unboxing. Okay, in the unboxing, what I'm doing is, I am extracting the value which I am storing inside the object of a type wrapper. All right, so now if I press the run button, it is going to print true, obviously. Okay, because here I am passing true as a parameter to the constructor, so it is going to obviously print true. Okay, now on the other hand, if I replace this with false, okay, if I replace this with false, then the output, it is going to be false. All right, so this was about this constructor. Okay, and if I write something inside a boolean string value, okay, so for example, I'm going to wrap this in double quotes. Okay, if I wrap it in double quotes, then it becomes a string basically. Okay, so it becomes a string, public boolean at the rate nullable. Okay, don't worry about the at the rate nullable. We are going to discuss the concept of this is known as annotation. We'll be discussing it later anyway, and it is going to accept a string parameter. Okay, so now if I press the run button, then it is going to print false. All right, so in the much the same manner, if I replace false with true, then after this, if I press the run button, then it is going to print true as the output. All right, because that is the value which I'm passing inside the string. Now one question might arise in your mind that since I am passing a string to a boolean, can't I write anything or whatever I want to write here? Okay, so let's do that. Let's experiment. Let me write my name here. Let us see what happens. Let us see whether it breaks the program or what happens exactly. So if I'm going to run this program now, and if I run this program, it is going to print false. So it is not breaking the program anyway. If I print, if I am giving the output as anything apart from true and false, okay, it is going to print false. All right. So let me write, let us say, okay, I'm going to write my other name here, and I'm going to press the run button. Once again, it is going to print false. Okay, so this proves that, if I give any value as an input parameter to this particular constructor, then it is always going to, return the false value. Okay, so then after that, we have the concept of this particular double. Okay, so let us talk about double. So double, obviously, it is going to be the it is going to be the uh, type wrapper for the double data type. Okay, so it is a primitive data type. So I mean this double. Okay, I made a mistake there. Okay, I meant this double. Okay, so this particular type wrapper, it is a kind of type wrapper for this particular primitive data type. Okay, and obviously in Java, it is case sensitive. I cannot stress that enough. So now I'm going to replace this value with a you know double value. Okay, so now if I press the run button, then you can see the output. And the output, actually I made a mistake there. I did not do it properly. I'm sorry. I passed a string to double. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is, instead of a string, I'm going to write 80.0d. And if I press the run button now, then it is going to print 80 as the output. Okay, hopefully. So this double also, it can accept a string, and it can accept double value also. Okay, so this is the first constructor which is going to accept a string, but you need to remember that the parameter which is passed here, it must be in a kind of a number format. Okay, you cannot write like YouTube here, or just a few seconds ago I had written my name over here, and it was throwing a number format exception. Obviously that is going to happen if you try to do it. All right, so now one thing you might have noticed, when I was typing out this double value, you might have noticed one different thing about this particular class. Okay, so if I talk about character, and if I talk about boolean, okay, there is exactly one method, that is, in for character we have char value, and if I talk about boolean, there is we have bool value. Okay, boolean value. Okay, but if I talk about double value, if I talk about this particular class, okay, it has more than one method. Okay, so let me click on this dot, but okay, and you can see it has the method double value, it has the method byte value, it has the method int value. Okay, float value. So what is happening here? Basically it has this short value, long value. Okay, so one thing you need to remember here is that this particular class double, if I hover over this, you can see it right here that this is a public final class run double. Okay, and it is extending from the number class. Okay, so this particular class number, it is going to contain the definition of all these methods. Okay, it is going to contain the definition of double, it is going to contain definition of byte, int, float, long, okay, short, because all of these are numbers. Okay, so let me just go to that particular code. I think navigate to that particular class, and I am going to go to the source code of the number class now. All right, so now if I click on the source code of this number class, and if I put control F, and let us say I'm going to type byte value or something, byte value, you can see here this particular class. Okay, this particular class number, it contains the definition of all these methods. Okay, it contains the definition of byte value, it contains the definition of short. Okay, similarly, if I go, upwards, it contains the definition of float value, but this is abstract, but obviously it is going to be implemented by its child classes. Okay, so it contains definition of double value, int value, long value, etc., etc. All right. So since this particular class, it is extending from this number class, that is the reason why we are able to, access these particular methods. All right. Now that I have clarified that, I'm just going to remove the, double quotes in order to, use this particular constructor. And if I press the run button, I think it is showing an error somewhere. Yeah, it is showing error here. So I'm going to write double value here. And now if I press the run button, then it is going to print 80, 80. All right. So it is going to print the same value. So again, the concept of boxing, unboxing remains same. Okay, in the first line we are doing boxing, in the second line we are doing unboxing. All right. Now I'm going to talk about float. Okay. So I'm going to replace double with the float, and I'm going to write float here. Okay. So now I am going to replace this d with f, and here also this particular class also it is going to inherit from the number class. So this method double value, it is perfectly valid. Okay, so I am going to replace this method with float value. Okay, so now if I press the run button, it is going to print 80. All right. So I think okay, now it is printing 80. Okay, so let's try, putting this in quotes. Okay, if I put it in quotes, it is going to work fine. Okay, float also has two constructors. One is going to accept a string, other one it is going to accept a float only. All right. So again, you need to remember that, even though this particular string, it is going to return a valid value. Okay, it is going to return 80.0. All right. If I write something here apart from this, like let us say I'm going to write, let us say Java. Okay, I'm writing Java here. So now this particular Java, it is not a, flow of number format. Okay, so it is going to throw number format exception. Okay, so these are the things which you need to, keep in mind. Then after that we have the byte. Okay, so if I replace this float with byte, all right, so I'm going to write byte here, and here I'm going to write byte. Okay, so this class also, it is going to contain the constructor with which accepts a string, and a constructor which is going to accept a, a byte. Okay, obviously this is going to throw the same exception, so I am going to remove it. Okay, so if you want to test it out, you can test it out from your side. I'm not going to do it anyway, it is going to throw the same exception. So I'm going to remove this I'm going to remove this, double quotes and the string. And after this, I'm going to write a byte value here. So let us say I'm going to write 78 here. Okay. Then after that, you need to remember to mandatorily write byte here. Okay, because 78, it is of an integer data type. It is not a byte data type. So 78, it is an integer data type, and it is going to accept only byte and a string. Okay. So if I press the run button, then it is going to print 78. Okay, I think I put the float value here, so I'm going to replace this by byte value. Okay, so now if I press the run button, it is going to print the 78. Okay, so let's wait for that. Yeah, it is printing 78. So if I write, let us say 255, or let us say I'm writing 567, what do you think the output is going to be? Do you think the output is going to be 567? So of course it is not going to be 567. Okay, because if you remember the range of byte I told you in the previous tutorials itself, so the range of byte is from minus 128 to plus 127. Okay, so that is the range which is going to be, accept for this byte value. And if I talk about this 567, okay, then this 567 mod 255. So yeah, I think it is showing 57. It is showing 57. Okay, but here it is showing 55. So I think I made a mistake somewhere in the calculation. I think minus 128 to 0 is 129. 129 plus 127 is 256. So 567 mod 256, it is going to print 55. Okay, that is the reason why it is printing 55 here. All right. So now that we have that out of the way, let us talk about short. Okay, so here I'm going to write short, and here also I'm going to replace this with short. Okay, and obviously this thing should be replaced with short as well. Now if I press the run button, then it is going to print 567 because the range of this particular data type, it is longer. Okay, so now here I forgot to replace with byte value. I forgot to replace it with short value, I mean. Okay, so if I press the run button now, it is going to print 567. Okay, so these concepts, they're going to remain the same. In the first line, okay, we are always doing boxing, and in the second line we are always doing unboxing. Okay, this concept is not at all going to change no matter what. All right, in much the same manner, if I replace this particular thing inside a string, if I write this inside a string, okay, that is also legal constructor. But obviously if I write Java here or something, which is not in a number format, then it is going to throw number format exception. Okay, so it goes without saying. So then after this we have the next class, which is the integer class. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the integer class now. So integer I equals to new integer. So here I'm going to write, let us say 45. Okay, it is going to work fine because 45, it is an integer value. Okay, by default, these values are integer only. So now after this I'm going to write system.out.println I dot int value. All right, so now if I press the run button here, it is going to print 45, obviously. All right, so now if I put this in quotes, double quotes, okay, then once again it is going to print 45 because 45 is in the proper format. All right, so it is going to print 45. But however, you need to remember that, if I write anything apart from a number here, okay, like once again, if I, let us say I'm writing keyword this time. Now in keyword, it is not an integer, it is not of a int data type, right? So obviously this particular thing, it is going to throw a number format exception. All right. So then after that we have the long constructor. Okay. Obviously this particular constructor also, this particular class also is going to have two constructors. One is for with which accepts a string, and one which is going to accept the long. Okay, so obviously I don't even need to mention it now. Okay, this particular thing, it is going to throw an exception. Okay, so I'm not even going to execute it. Okay, so if I write, let us say 789 or something like that. Okay, then after that if I press the run button, then it is going to print 789. Okay, because this is a valid long value. All right, so then after that, if I remove the quotes, okay, if I remove the quotes, then also if I press the run button, it is going to print 789. All right, so in the first line we are doing boxing, and in the second line we are doing unboxing. Okay, so to just recap the concept of boxing and unboxing, in boxing what we are doing is we are storing the value of a primitive type. Okay, whether it is a character or a boolean or a double or a float or a byte or a short, integer, long, etc., etc. Okay, obviously there are only 8 primitive types in the Java programming language. So whenever we are storing the value of these primitive types, okay, inside the object of a type wrapper, then that particular concept is known as boxing. Okay, and in much the same manner, when I'm extracting the value, whenever I am extracting a value from the object of the type wrapper, okay, like I'm doing it here in this second line, that's exactly what I'm doing, then this particular concept is known as unboxing. Okay, so these are the concepts of boxing and unboxing in the Java programming language, and we have the type wrappers as well. Okay, so I'm going to remove this particular package, I think I made a typo when typing, so that because of that reason that that particular package got imported automatically. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this particular tutorial. So in the next tutorial, I'll be taking you to the the PPT, and we'll be starting the concept of auto boxing. Okay, so we're going to take this boxing concept to the next level. Okay, then we are going to talk about auto boxing. Then after we have completed auto boxing, we'll be talking about annotations and the other concepts. Okay, so annotations is okay, like for example, here I write public. Okay, if I write public boolean equals, okay, then this particular line which got added automatically, this is the annotation. Okay, so we are going to be discussing this in much detail later on. So right now I am going to talk about in this particular tutorial. So if you liked this particular tutorial, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you have any kind of doubt or any kind of questions, then don't forget to post in the comment section below, and I will get back to you when I can. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this tutorial. So I will see you in the next tutorial. So till then, bye.